Thank you. Welcome to Protective Services Standing Committee meeting of April 1st, 2025. I can confirm there is quorum. I'm going to hand the chair off to Councilor Corbett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm certain there for
I thought you did.
Okay, thank you and welcome to the meeting. I'll read the acknowledgement of First Nations. Mayor and Council wish to acknowledge that the town of Fort Smith is located within Treaty 8 territory. Treaty 8 territory also encompasses the traditional homelands of Salt River First Nation, Smith Landing First Nation, and the indigenous Métis people of Fort Smith. These nations have maintained stewardship of their sacred lands throughout the generations. We honor your knowledge, teachings, traditions, and the land. We are mindful that colonization has not been kind. We respectively recognize our generational histories and commit to strive for unity in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. Okay, of course we have an agenda, so if I, under item B, review, have a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Mayor Ferguson.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Tuckey. Any additions?
The addition of the delegation, the Batches Chamber of Commerce. Under D, delegation.
Okay. Any further additions? Councillor Tuckey, you're in favor of the addition?
Oh, yeah.
As amended, okay. Approval of the agenda as amended, all in favor? Passed unanimously. The next item on our agenda is minutes. If I could have somebody approve the minutes.
I'll move the minutes of Protective Services Standing Committee meeting on March 4th, 2025 be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Benoit. Is there any comments, changes, additions? Seeing none, I do have one question, and it's in regards to item D of the minutes, which was director's report, and I would like to ask if administration has any timelines for the zoning bylaw review as part of the approval of the upcoming community plan and zoning bylaw undertaking we've taken recently. SAO?
Sorry, I didn't know what to put my hand up to. Thank you very much, Councillor Corbett. We are planning early May to call an advisory group meeting only because some staff are away towards the end of April. So we're hoping to have a draft to review by the middle of April, and then we will call together the advisory groups to have a full meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Dealing with minutes, any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the minutes approved unanimously. Okay, the next item on our agenda is item C, visions and values. If everybody wants to take a quick read of their little cheat sheets on their desk, not so laminated. One of these times we should read out our new vision for the public, but I won't go through that tonight. Moving on, the next item is delegations, and I would invite Mr. Westwell to join us.
So we should come see over the house over here.
sit through this at the college.
Oh, the, yeah.
Okay, my next delegation.
So I'm gonna try to like simultaneously. There we go. This one. Probably only use this if I'm gonna look like. This one. All right. Thanks for having me. I think everybody here this evening is probably familiar with who I am. Some of you have had the pleasure of dealing with my pontification in the past. Jim, I think this is retirement 6 or 7 now.
I've lost
Okay, I think I told you at 5 I was gonna stop saying happy retirement. So I'm here this evening for the Chamber of Commerce. I'd actually, in my ignorance, emailed the town on the afternoon of the frolics. I think I emailed to yourself, who was quite busy, unfortunately, forgetting that it was indeed a civic holiday, such as the life. Anyway, so yeah, I was hoping to squeeze myself into the council meeting, but regardless, I'm happy to be here this evening. So, why am I here tonight? There we go, 2 different ones. There we go. So, firstly, I'm not here to lecture anybody. I have myself been on this side of the desk, or your guys' side of the desk, and this side of the desk is new for me. I have found in my time on council that usually there was a less delegation and less engagement than I wished. So I'm looking to sort of do that differently. I want to actually be engaged now that I'm on the side of the chamber and not in council. I think we all do better if we work together and talk together. So as the note says, I'm not here to accuse anyone or organization of any wrongdoing or malice. Hopefully this is the start of something new. I don't believe any organization or business is perfect, but that, as I said on council, is the pursuit of improvement that makes us great. And I'm here to talk about how we can work together, what we can change, and what we can strive for that can improve our community and have long-term positive results for Fort Smith and its residents. This is why slideshows are fun. Because, my positive moments, we can do this. The reason why I have a we can do this discussion is because things have been tough in the business community for certainly, I think the community as a whole. Community evacuations, community tragedies, job losses, business closures, less post-secondary students, cost of living has risen faster than wages, inflation reached 4-year highs, average home prices reached over 700,000 last year. There has been large government spending reductions, a complete freeze on government spending for the last 3 months, and consumer confidence last month, or literally last month, reached historic lows, which we haven't been seen since the financial crisis collapse of numerous banks, and is approached with much worse situations. So right now, consumer confidence meaning that people aren't spending money, which I would say understandably considering the world indeed many crises that we seem to be under and the additional stress. Combine that with a number of community effects. Maybe too long didn't read. There's been a number of major economic social disruptions. There are less people employed in their field of choice. There are less taxpayers, less customers. Everything's gotten more expensive faster than a rate people could adjust to. Homeownership has become nearly unattainable for average people. Governments are getting smaller and spending less. And we're facing economic uncertainty at risk levels not seen in generations. How has that affected us in Fort Smith? So everyone's had to find ways to survive. Persevere, as it's on the flag. Find ways to make cuts, make do. What does that mean for local businesses? Wages and costs had to go down, service levels had to be decreased, hours of operation reduced, and employees laid off. So natural way that business has to stay open is when opportunities close and things get tight, adjustments have to be made. The reason that I actually requested the meeting originally was because the quarter following Christmas, the first quarter of 2025, was measurably the worst quarter I've ever had, and a number of businesses as well. A level of quietness that, and lack of consumer spending, traffic, and government spending across the board led to dramatic reduction in barely survivable sudden impact. where businesses that have been in operations for more than 20 years were suddenly faced with crisis of staying open and how they were going to move forward. Certainly wasn't made better with the activities across the board. And this isn't just government cuts, this is consumer traffic spending and government spending. Again, thanks to multiple crises simultaneously. So, I mean, hopefully, spring is here, customer traffic, consumer spending will improve. I mean, you know, it's already been a little better once the weather got better. But likely government spending is going to resume in the new year. There was certainly lots of, hey, can you bill me for this tomorrow? Discussion, the nature of strange government spending restrictions. But, you know, the government in the Northwest Territories is still looking to cut $50 million a year for the next 2 years. Which again, we already lost our correctional facility and 30 positions there. So it's not great when it comes to, you know, macroeconomic issues, right? So these are some of these are systemic, you know, or beyond our influence, beyond our control. Certainly something we cannot directly influence. Maybe we've tried to overturn a decision or to try to, you know, encourage political intervention to, you know, right the path of the college or change the way the decisions for the correctional facilities or, you know, justice or, you know, applying for federal money. There's all sorts of ways we can try, but necessarily, you know, the short answer is the government's getting smaller. So what can we do then? Keeping up. There we go. So as elected officials, as I'm very familiar with, we have an incredible number of expectations on our abilities to affect change at levels that are often unrealistic. Everybody, myself included, my first election ran on promises that I had no idea how hard they were to deliver, if they were even possible. And likely it took 3 terms and 9 or 12 years to see only a portion of them met. So that's okay. Being ambitious is good. It's just a matter of that, you know, sometimes our expectations can be unrealistic. So the point of that is, what can we actually do? And just as elected officials, which I'm also very familiar with, that you can often put incredible amounts of expectations on your municipal corporation and their staff to deliver these services and complete your sometimes unrealistic goals. So, we can work on changing the message. It sounds very doom and gloom, and I've been in meetings before when the doom and gloom message has been there. And it is a reality. I do not wish to tell everybody that things are all sunny and rosy. I don't think anyone needs that level of ignorance. But what we need to know is, what can we do to actually do something about it? But changing the message. Some of these are near and dear to me, and I think near and dear to a lot of businesses, where sometimes the message is, I want to support local, but you know, I can get this. I want to support local, but you know, it's so much. Somebody needs to do this on Facebook. Someone. Yeah. No one wants to blank. This town has blank, right? Fill in the message. You've all heard numerous variations of what the finishing those sentences are. By changing the message, hopefully we can create and embrace something unique. Fort Smith is unique. What we're doing is unique. The college, in what it was doing before, this message wasn't new. What they were doing Canadian-wide was unique. There is something to say. There is strength in being small. The ability to have change. The actual ability to do something small and pivot. Your voice and your actions can enact change. But you can also, by changing the message, I'm going to work with local business to find solutions. Doesn't mean I'm just going to blindly support them. Doesn't mean anything. It's just that there's going to be efforts to find solutions. And again, this isn't being spoken to like any of you or the organization is guilty of this. But as council and mayor of the community at this table, you guys can be the chief evangelists of change. You can be the champions. That's one of the many unrealistic or maybe realistic expectations that people have. You know, I need to do what I can to encourage people who are trying. I need to help be part of the solutions. I look forward to the future, but I acknowledge the past. Often there's the struggle about change for the sake of change versus not changing for the sake of things that worked. trying to find a way where you can acknowledge what has worked, but also still acknowledge the things you can change is sort of the core, I think, of what we're hoping to do. So you can acknowledge challenges, like it's too expensive, it takes too long, it's too complicated, no one wants to do this, it's too risky to do that. These are real concerns, these are real challenges. Right. But you can address them. Why is it more expensive? Why does it take long? Why does it seem so complicated? What can we do to incentivize improvement? So we can try to understand the challenges. High operating costs and small market remove the economy of scale in a world that's dominated by low prices and high volume sales. Dominated. Some of the oldest company in North America is about to be gone. Because you cannot compete in a world dominated by giants. For better or worse. Our remote location and limited access to our professional services slows things down and can increase costs. And professional services at all levels, from legal to architectural to inspection to everything, accounting, graphics design, like there's always, if there are resources, they're still limited because there's only so many who are here. Regulations have gotten stricter and more comprehensive at every level. Like risk mitigation and loss prevention have dominated regulations and policies at every level, local, municipal, federal, territorial, insurance, private practice, everything, right? Fear of doing anything has governed, or put an interesting restriction on what it is we can do to make change. So we can accept these challenges. Local businesses are not multi-billion-dollar companies with global reach that can operate on a 4% profit due to their high volume of sales. I've got a bunch of data in this at the end of this. I don't nearly enough time to get into about, a $600 billion company can operate on a 2.8% profit because they're a $600 billion company. But even a $5 billion company, a $1.5 billion company. I've got the Canadian players, and I've got the large American players. These are all, we're not playing the same game. And to pretend like or expect that we are is to insult and guarantee failure. If we want to have more access to services, we need to support those who are investing in the community. We need a balance to be found that encourages and protects investment while achieving required regulations and maintaining a safe and healthy community. No one's saying it's going to be easier to open up that uranium mine in a little town. It doesn't exist. Hypothetical. But again, they're finding a balance. But we have to also and can accept truths. Local business operators are not rich. Nobody's rich. In Fort Smith, there may be some who have more than others. But many of our wealthiest citizens, they are not our local business operators. And even then, nobody is rich. No one's trying to scam you because their prices are different than somewhere else. Everyone's aware the internet's a thing. Competing against the entire world now directly with China, which is also ruining the whole other level of industry. The local businesses offer more than just the product or services they sell. They also employ your friends, your neighbors, your children, donate to local events and causes, create spaces for enjoyment in the community, add to the overall community experience, help make the community a better place to live. Everybody knows this, I'm converting anybody, this is the choir, right? But do you know that there are many local business operators who don't take a wage, who have never taken a wage, or often forego their wage? They've run a company for decades that they employ people in and don't pay themselves. It's more real than I think many people might realize. That a lot of people, and both that I'm still recent in, understand that it is a whole different game of community contribution that you're playing, which is effectively, I want to do this and I want to bring it to my community. It's the single biggest fuel and inspiration that I'm aware of in the business community. Because nobody sets up shop in Fort Smith because they're going to get rich. We're all doing it because we're trying to make the place better or make something for ourselves. So together, we can move forward. Our business sector growth and ongoing support, I think, is our best option to creating jobs, improve non-government services, and solve many of our local issues, both social and economic. The whole peace through prosperity, though it is questionable these days in global affairs, I still think works on a local level. Think globally, act locally. if we want to fix our housing issues and our crisis, a lot of the funding and the capital to make it happen is going to be, made available through agencies that are larger than our local businesses, but a lot of it actually make it happen is going to fall on the ability of our local businesses to make it happen. They fall on the ability of the governing organizations to be conducive to spending and being able to access that money. Together we can change the message. Invigorate local businesses with outreach and support. I'm here tonight because, again, this isn't scolding, this is I want to do something different. Here I feel, preaching to the choir, but regardless, I think it can be an improved way to go. Protecting investors and residents with fair and reasonable regulations of being champions for keeping money in the local economy. Because there is, even with these cuts, there is still a ton of money in this community. And if we can keep millions, not even small amounts, millions of the money that often leaves the community freely, we can help keep jobs, keep people, and even create new opportunities. But it's going to require something incredibly challenging, which is just challenging common culture. And consumer culture and is what we're up against. It's not a small feat. I don't expect you alone to defeat it. But it's one of those things that together, our efforts and our messaging will hopefully improve. So we can weather this uncertainty. Fort Smith's perseverance on the flag, I'm pretty sure, is not there just because of recent events. And we've been through dips, ups and downs, and Fort Smith, if anything, is consistent. The population, much to some people's chagrin, hasn't budged in 50 years. That can be a good thing. Heck, if we can maintain our community as it is, as it was, we've won at this point, the way the world is going towards rural communities. So did you know, say that a hypothetical local business had a revenue of $2 million. Not small, not huge, $2 million. Seems like a lot of money, right? But an operating profit of 3%, which is about what Walmart, Best Buy, Costco, Amazon, they all operate on. They make about $60,000 in profit if they were a reasonable sized business here. The zoning in town center alone, they're paying $20,000 to $70,000, say current larger landholders, just in municipal taxes. So, the mill rate of increase is 6%, is an extra $1,200 to $4,500 on top of that for existing holders. And that's a lot. It doesn't mean I don't understand its rationale. It doesn't mean that it's meant as an extra bar, but as a real, matter of fact, the idea of why it is that we need to support our local businesses, why we need to work together and talk to each other more often, so that we can help make informed decisions, and you can be informed of just helping spread the message of just the idea is what you're supporting is not someone's get-rich-quick scheme. It's not let me sham the government for fleece somebody for money. It's these are people who are making the community a better place, and actually trying to scratch out a living that 99% of the time would be better off working for the public sector currently. The real reality check is knowing that where I'm at versus if I was a janitor for the town of Fort Smith. That's more than my manager makes. It's more than my household income. I'm very happy as a pro-union person that that's where we're at. That's what the public sector can do for people. They can afford to pay a living, reasonable, happy, supportive wage. That is not what the world of private sector in Fort Smith is represented by. That's not where we're at. There are people who might have more than some, but they are no rich local entrepreneurs. Defined by what rich is nowadays. The bar has moved quite high. So there's a whole bunch of data here. I've probably gone near my time. I kind of cover it short here, but it's generally Fort Smith's household. You guys, this is not new information. There is some new information on NWT surveys. Housing problems. We have a lot of issues. Hourly wage apparently is $33 an hour now in NWT, which is quite a bit higher than I thought. We've gotten up to a rather quick turnaround. The average Canadian wage now is at $27 an hour. So it does speak to, you know, the benefits, again, of the public sector and unions positions are able to negotiate and be funded to make average wages, right? It's the problem isn't that. The problem is what's the pressure, I think, on being a business is the expectation that you're competing in a unlevel marketplace. And then I got, you know, a lot of extra data in this. Sorry, you guys are, sorry. So yeah, there's all this information is available, and this is just chunky, you know, union members' wages, non-union. It's actually refreshing to see that the union and non-union wages are as close as they are nationally. That's it's great to see. But it has now become even more glaring that I think our local economy is becoming that disparate, where the business community is being expected to compete on in a playing field that is not built for them and not necessarily supportive of them. One of the challenges when I spoke of protecting investments. There are people. I want to be the chamber to be a larger part of discussions with the town of showing up to in zoning meetings, and I've been very thankful to have been, you know, invited and a part of that. And you know, the zoning engagement was huge. The last meeting was very impressive. Very happy to see the level of engagement. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that can set such a huge standard going forward for such a long time. And the importance of the zoning bylaw, which is something I'm trying to pay as close attention to, because I realize there are issues in that could resolve long-standing issues that come up when it comes to fairness or enforcement or level playing fields and codes. You know, one of the biggest challenges that gets brought up in the constant, you know, Facebook black market food system is, you know, to pay an engineer and architect to sign off, to get your fire marshal to sign off on your plans to open up a restaurant, it cost me tens of thousands of dollars. I think it was $30,000 for the architect. So it's not, that's a huge roadblock. And at this point, besides the extra taxes, and besides the extra insurance, and besides the worker compensation, and besides the pile of extra cost it is to operate, is shown as a poor investment when I don't need to do any of that. I should just be a home occupation cafe. It would be much more affordable. But that creates challenges. It's not new challenges. This is something that's gone on for as long as I've been in Smith. This has been a challenge. Now, Facebook and social media have changed that game again completely. Now, people used to advertise in the newspaper. They had a weekend, you know, pizza sale. But now it's created a whole, and then following the pandemic, it's created a whole other issue. But realistically, with the slowdown that we had in December or January, February, March, we almost lost some businesses and food service providers because of the incredible downturn. And the difference of 10, 12, 15 customers over a weekend, let alone a day, is the difference between staying open or paying a person. You know, that's so, because I've heard this discussion, I mean, I've been on this discussion. I want Portsmouth to be a development garage-based, you know, startup community. Yeah, but we always bought up against the how do you balance that between being a startup talent pool, small town, because I'm at odds with myself. I want Fort Smith to be small and to be able to make change and to be able to do things where we can make decisions when we're asked to and not be forced by overarching policy that sometimes feels like a handcuff your ability to make change. But at the same time, I want there to be a policy and enforcement that makes it so that, you know, it's not an easy, but, you know, as long as we're, I think, hopefully talking to each other, you can get some good feedback from people who have been in business for a long time. I'm just the voice. There are many other great long-time business operators who are happy to share their opinions, or sometimes they're only happy to share their opinions in the chamber meetings, and are happy to have me or somebody else be their voice. So hopefully you hear more from me if you want to, but generally that's kind of my spiel. thank you for your time. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you, Chris.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Westwell? One thing I would request is if you could provide us with the data portion of your presentation for additional background for counselors to look at.
Sure. I've got great information on how many billions other people make.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving on with the.
Sorry.
Thank you.
That was amazing.
Okay, moving on with the agenda, the next section, 3 is director's report. Under that, we have Central Services Director's report for March included with your package. Leo, do you have any comments with regards to the director's report?
I do not, but since we have Director McNabb sitting beside us, Director Wood, are there any highlights you want to discuss within your report? I saw you made a couple extra notes there that I thought maybe you'd like to speak to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. It's fairly straightforward. I'm open to questions in the report. There were a couple of things that I didn't highlight those, so under fire EMS response activities, we did have a fairly significant structure fire in the community over the course of the last month. I'm sure everybody's aware, but big kudos to the folks that came out. The volunteer firefighters did an excellent job. Contained it to the structure. There was a really close exposure that saw no damage, which is always a great thing to reduce loss of property. And the fire was put out with fairly minimal loss to the structure, considering how involved it was before we got there. So I just wanted to say job well done there. Obviously, that fire was tied to some other activity in our community of concern. Nothing that I can speak to, but definitely we're keeping an eye on that, and we're aware of the potential for other incidents of that nature. Fire and ambulance responses were about average, though otherwise good month. And then just in line with that topic of structure fires, so under land and development, I suppose I should have mentioned this, but there are 5 structures throughout our community that have been impacted by larger scale structure fires, some of them not so obvious from the outside, but they're all in varying states of disrepair. There is a stipulation in our fire prevention bylaw that all remnants of a fire are to be remediated, cleaned up within 48 hours. That's not necessarily feasible, but nonetheless, we've sent off letters to the property owners of all those structures to come back to us within 30 days, showing a plan for how they're going to be actioning those sites. So not that they have to remediate them within 30 days, but rather that they come back with a plan and submit a development permit either for repair or demolition. Again, structures of that nature do pose a health and safety hazard to neighbors, along with them being unsightly and possible target of future arson. So we want to make sure that we're dealing with that in a timely manner. So that was just one more note in the land and development summary.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just show my ignorance here. I was trying to interpret the EMS calls by code.
Sure.
I have no idea what a code 1, code 2, or code Zulu are. I can figure out what medevac is, I think.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a code 1, code 2, and a code Zulu, just so I can interpret the bars.
Yeah, no problem. So code 1 in our department is an emergent ambulance call, so life-threatening ambulance response. Code 2 is an emergency call, but not necessarily life-threatening, and those are triaged through our dispatch. And then code Zulu is transfer of a deceased body.
Okay, now I know what those bars are. Thank you.
That's it for additional comments beyond what's in the report. So happy to answer questions.
I'll start with Councilor Bethel.
So
it's up to the homeowners to dispose of the house that got burnt?
Yeah, that's right. So whoever owns the property, it's their responsibility to remediate the site.
Oh, okay. I saw the one that called in there, somebody was home in and out of there. I thought that was very upset. Sure. But who was supposed to look at it?
Councilor Pearson.
It wasn't in your report, and I might be putting you on the spot, and if I do, I apologize. But I know under the capital budget, there was money allocated for fire hydrant replacement, and I had asked at that time how many fire hydrants that equated to, and I was told 2. Have they been identified?
You would.
2 was my guess, was
Okay.
that time, so that's why I looked at you.
I'm just wondering if is there a list of, okay, these 2 are gonna be happen next.
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Kershak. So what we do is, it's actually 3, and possibly 4, it depends on the cost of the project, how much of the hydrant we need to replace, what we have in stock, et cetera. So anywhere between 2 and 4, we'll say, yeah. We generally identify the next ones due that we would like to proactively replace as an evergreen program. And that is all well and good until one gets hit during snow clearing or spindle snaps while we're responding to a fire. So then we end up doing some replacements that are out of schedule. We're hoping to get to the point where we can account for those by having enough budget to do both our evergreen with some accounting for events outside of our control. But we do have 2, I believe, on the docket that require repair, and we have the next 4 identified for replacement. It'll just depend on budget this year for how many of the proactive evergreen ones are done.
Are those scheduled for replacement non-functioning, or are they just scheduled for replacement?
So we always fix the non-functioning or damaged ones first, no matter what, and then we have just a general evergreen. There are a number of hydrants throughout our community that are original installation, like 1960s. So they're the ones that are definitely scheduled to be proactively replaced next. But again, if there's one that's not working, we'll make sure we get that first.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Councilor Platt.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that I used the online form for submitting a bylaw response request, and just wanted to give props to your staff for their quick response via email, but then also to the scene to deal with the situation. So thank you, and people should use it.
Great, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Mayor Ferguson.
Thank you. So I have a question about the buildings that had been burnt or left standing. What's the process if they don't remediate after a fire? And it's been left standing for years and years and years. What's the process?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So that's a great question. There is an order that can be laid through the fire prevention bylaw. So we have actually gone ahead those 30 days. Our orders, some of them predate me and have been historical issues. So we're just starting with a clean slate. Essentially, we put new orders out, and there are fines associated with not complying with order of the fire chief under that bylaw, as well as the town does have the ability in that bylaw to go on site, remediate, and then bill back to the property taxes of that property.
Yeah, I had 3 other things. So I was through your report. I went and I Googled your Wounded Warriors and then checked about the folks that do the trauma exposed, like treating trauma exposed professionals. Just wondering if we've had uptake on that with our program with your people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So that has been a bit of a process. So it's the Fire Chiefs Association of the Northwest Territories that's engaged in that as a group. So I'm limited on how quickly I can access it. It was a registration process and now rolling out the training. And to get the cost of training down, we're waiting until the whole territory is weighed in. So I've got 3 or 4 members that want to do the peer-to-peer support program, which is great. It will be a bigger commitment of time. It'll have to be based in Yellowknife. It's 4 days of training approximately. And then the before operational stress component, which should be for all of our members. I haven't started to roll that out yet. We again just got a notification that they can register. We've been so busy though with first responder and 1001 training, I can only have so much of the group at a time. So it's probably going to be a later summer, early fall thing. But I have had a lot of positive feedback. People are interested.
Awesome, okay. And then I just want to say congrats to the 9 successful students for that was awesome, for the Red Cross. And then when you're moving into emergency management, like you're doing the revision cycle and you're looking for input from community members and public about your next, like, for our plan for emergency back. I'm just wondering how much ask is done on the business community, because I know from our active evacuation, a lot of it fell on business community who was left here, helping. So what's their input in this process?
Absolutely. So thank you for that question. I've reached out to a couple of the more key players in the initial response, not so much in the evacuation yet, to discuss some of that a bit more. Folks that would provide some of the fire response equipment locally in the community. And then, yeah, I'll be moving on to some of the other folks like hotel operators and grocery stores, fuel suppliers, things like that. That'll be over the next couple of weeks.
Any further questions? Councillor Eaton, did you have any questions? Okay.
What was that for?
Just wondering if you had any questions on the.
Oh, no, just have a comment. Yeah, just really congratulating on the training of the new staff. And now that I know what Code Zulu means, I'm happy you guys are getting some mental health support. I'm wondering if you could extend that out to your young trainees as well too, or if it's just like seasoned firefighters.
Yeah, no, everybody's welcome to it, and the program is for anybody that has anything to do with traumatic events in the first responder world. Absolutely.
Copy that. Thank you.
Seeing no further questions with regards to the director's report, thank you very much, Director McNabb. Moving on to our next item, under item D, administration. So that item A, briefing note, town-owned residential lot. Let's say if you want us to move the motion before you discuss it.
Yes.
All right, if I could have a mover for the motion. Mayor Ferguson.
I move that council directs administration to proceed with the sale of 3 town-owned lots. First lot is 415 Plan 207, 68 Pine Crescent. Second lot is 1367 Plan 1788, 57 Caribou Crescent. Third lot is 646 Plan 319, 27 Whooping Crane Crescent.
Seconder, Councilor Fairseck. Okay, questions? Mayor Ferguson.
Do these buildings, some of them look like they had, some of them we remediated, or some of them, like, what prompted us to sell these? To put these on?
Well, Director McNabb.
Thank you, Mayor. So the one, I think you're looking at 27 Whooping Green Crescent, looks like it has a structure on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a town-owned lot that had a derelict house on it. It has since been remediated, so that's an empty lot. And the other 2 do not have structures on it. And as for why we're selling them, so they're 3 serviced residentially zoned lots that the town currently owns. And given feedback from community members that there aren't enough lots available and that they are easily developed, and that we're a tax-based community that relies on tax revenue. I felt that it would be a good idea to at least present it as an option for mayor and council to consider.
Councilor Cox.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to start offloading if we don't have a purpose for them. I guess one comment and a couple of questions. So the one on Pine Crescent, I know during the election stuff, there was a few people actually expressed some concern about this park that's there. There is a name for it, it escapes me now. I think it's a good idea to sell that lot, and just be prepared that somebody might come in with questions or upset about it, but we just need to reinforce that we're still preserving that parkland to the side and we're not scrubbing the whole thing. The other question was looking at the other two, actually, the maps might deceive me, but it almost looks like there may be a little bit of encroachment on there potentially. I'm just wondering if we had checked that, see if that's potentially an issue. Correct.
If I could speak to that first comment quickly, just to clarify, in case there are concerns, those are valid points that you brought up. Thank you, Councillor Cox. That is not zoned park, that lot. It is currently zoned residential while it appears to be a part of the green space because it's undeveloped. It actually never was zoned park. I understand why there would be some perceptions there. Additionally, while that corner lot is zoned park, it's currently withdrawn and it's not even town owned. So it's zoned park, but it is commissioner's land withdrawn for Métis land things presently. So that's just another point there. And then as far as encroachments, yes, you're correct. There are encroachments on both of those lots. Unfortunately, due to a number of things over the years, if you look at every lot on all three of these, you notice that every single lot has encroachments. That would preclude us from allowing anyone to sell property in this entire community. That's not to say that that's okay, but given our zoning bylaw and the grandfather clause, all non-conforming buildings can remain. And there will be some challenges with the Caribou lot. Perhaps one of the adjacent landowners would like to buy it, and then that could be a solution there. Consideration could be given to how that works. But in the meantime, they're kind of residential lots.
Mayor, for this.
Yeah, just looking at the Caribou one, it doesn't look big enough. Like, is that the way it, like, 'cause it's how close to the building next to it and that whole yard area there? Like, was it an offer given to either of those residents first before we set it up to this? Because like, if I was lived there, I'd really hate for someone to plop something on like right close to where my property line is.
So from my understanding, and I would have to confirm it, but that home adjacent to the northeast was placed there contrary to the original direction, because certainly that is encroaching on the property line. I don't know that should reduce the town's ability to sell that residential lot as a residential lot, though. So that would be a decision of mayor and council, but certainly there could be a discussion, and I believe that the adjacent property owners do have an interest in that property, but it's publicly owned land, and we'll have to explore the administration bylaw to confirm that we don't have to offer it for public sale first before somebody can be offered it directly for sale independently. I would have to explore the land administration bylaw for process first.
Councilor Pearson.
Again, another question you may or may not know off the top of your head. So we're recommending the sale of 3 lots. What percentages of the town-owned residential lots that we have, like, what does it represent? Like, do you know how many lots we have that are zoned residential, of which these 3 we're proposing to sell? Is it 5%, 2%, 10%? Like, how much land do we own residential that we could offload, and why these 3? And I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you, Councilor Karashak. So this represents 100% of the town-owned residential lots that are currently subdivided for the purposes of sale that are directly adjacent to services. We do certainly own large tracts of R1 land for future development, as well as future urban reserve lands that aren't yet zoned. But this, beyond what is currently for sale in the West Grove subdivision, these are the 100% of the lots. Well, yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor Ferguson.
Thanks. How many lots are left on, for sale in the West Grove project? Or West Grove area?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great question, which I could quickly Google. I'm sorry, I don't know that right off the top of my head. So, but
We could follow up with
yeah, I believe it is around 12.
12? So, I always do, oh, I thought I saw it. Sorry, why aren't they selling? If we have 12 available lots in a new subdivision that has been developed and ready for development, how come we're had to seek others that may not be as favorable to develop on? How come those are not selling, do you know? We have 12 available.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Ferguson. I could only speculate. I think for just from my own experience, I own a piece of property adjacent to mine that's undeveloped, and when I got it appraised by an appraiser for actual market value, it was appraised for approximately $50,000 less than the value that other West Grove lots are being posted for. So if you were to try and mortgage that, that would be challenging. So that's anecdotally an experience I've personally had, but I can't speak to why the market's not interested in purchasing them. However, these are 3 lots in different areas, so perhaps there would be interest in them for other reasons.
Councilor
Spade.
Wait.
So, do we know what the price of, like, will these lots be cheaper than those ones, given their current condition?
Yeah, thanks, Councilor Bates. So if given direction to go ahead with this process, will explore what the land administration bylaw requires for pricing, and I'll come up with a few possible options based on how our bylaw governs pricing, and present that to council before it goes for sale.
And maybe a tangential question, but looking at like the encroachments, as you mentioned, it's like across the board throughout the town. Like I know every lot on my street has the same problem. Is there any way to fix this that doesn't cost millions of dollars of surveying? Right, like my property line goes through my neighbor's living room. Right? Just as an example, you know, it's
My neighbor's garden
the
is
same
on my
thing all the way down the street, right? Is there a way we can fix this?
Thank you, Councilor Bates. So there's no way that the municipality could fix it. When you purchase land, you're purchasing it with known encumbrances like those encroachments. And ultimately, it would be up to the property owner to do a lot line adjustment, which would, of course, have a cost associated with it, but it would be in a case-by-case basis. And, sorry, just to the zoning bylaw, the tool in the zoning bylaw that ensures that it doesn't continue or gives some motivation to fix it is that no further development on a lot that's currently got a non-conforming building can occur. So if there's a building that's an encroachment, technically no further development that extends that encroachment can occur until such time as that building has been fixed. And if that property ceases to be used for the original intention or use for greater than 12 months, that encroachment or non-conformity actually has to be remediated before it can be repurposed or reused.
Thank you.
And any further questions regarding the motion on Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the motion as presented? Passed unanimously. Okay, our next item B, another briefing note, urgent policy review, municipal pelican management strategy.
John McKinnon presenting to us?
Would you like me to read it in?
If somebody wants to move it.
I move that council direct administration to proceed with the Pelican Traffic Control Initiative to declare a provisional Pelican fly no zone over, I can't read it in. Someone else has to read this in. Sorry.
Be an April Fool's Fun.
Yeah.
You would have seconded?
Sure.
Oh my God, okay.
I read it way too long before I realized.
Oh, okay, declare a provisional Pelican no-fly zone over municipal events pending further review. Engage in meaningful dialogue with Pelican representatives pending confirmation that at least one of them speaks English. Note, early attempts at diplomacy have been unproductive. Pelican representatives arrived 45 minutes late, knocked over a pitcher of water, and then stormed out dramatically when asked to follow the agenda.
Yeah, that's it. Councilor Bay. Any comments? Mayor?
It took me a minute to read this and figure out it was April Fool's. I was like duped. I was like, what are we doing? Why is it $5.2 million? This is crazy. And then I calmed down. Yeah.
Until she stormed across
I
the
did.
office.
I was like, what? Did you misname Pelican for something else? What's happening here? Until they told me what day it was.
All in favor?
Councilor Cox.
I did, even though it said council only, I did forward it to the Pelican Advisory Circle.
Yes, thank you.
John, I thought was very proud.
Yes, he would have been.
For Councilor Garrison.
Well, has any thought been given to incorporating a Pelican diapering initiative to reduce any aerial waste?
I would support that. You are on
Yes,
something there.
you.
We could definitely take that under consideration. Would you like a briefing note back about that?
Sure.
Okay. The budgetary impact?
Staffing?
Is this an amendment to the motion, or we'll just take that as directed? Any further comments? Councilor Heath?
About pelicans,
I don't know if she got it.
or just final comments
motion.
about the,
There is a motion on the floor about Pelican no-fly zone.
oh, is that for real? I already messaged McNabb about it. I didn't look at it.
Apparently we all reached out to Adam, not
Oh,
us.
because I was like, did any, I
I
thought.
would have called John McKinnon, because he's the park Pelican.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no further comments or questions, all in favor of the motion as presented?
What?
All opposed?
No, there was one in favor. I was opposed, 100%.
Don't let me do it.
Don't engage in Pelican.
Get it read out of it.
All opposed?
Yes. Opposed.
Three opposed, abstain?
That's stressful.
All right, moving on. Next item on our agenda is item D, other business. Nothing under other business. Item F, excusing of counselors. I believe we are all in attendance, so that will not be required. Date of the next meeting, the next Protective Services Standing Committee meeting will be on May 6, 2025. Mr. Pearson.
Oh, I move we adjourn at 7:29.
Second, Deputy Mayor Keiser. All in favor? Pass unanimously.